on to number 8 in the Minnesota Wild prospect top 20. Carson Lambos, which I was very unsure where a guy like this was going to land. When he got drafted, we were pretty freaking pumped. Like the things this guy did for the Winnipeg. How many different name changes have they had? We're just going to go back to Winnipeg Ice. And
for Kootenay and Winnipeg. Played 5 games when they were Kootenay.
And Wenatchee.
I don't think he played when they were Wenatchee.
He didn't play there, no. But it's just like, holy shit, that franchise has been thrown through the ringer. But this is a guy that like people were very excited about. I know Z among the top of that list when the Wild were able to get him with their second pick in that draft. And then there's been the just complex nature of how shitty things have been in Iowa. And I don't know what any of our prospects are because of it. But I don't think I'm alone in saying that looking at training camp and preseason, this is an NHL player.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's here or not, whether it's this year or not, this is an NHL player. But it's just tough, like, looking at a player like this and figuring out, okay, I don't know where he slots in with the Minnesota Wild in their future. It's a little bit harder for me to properly assess his ranking. So I'm the lone person that's outside of the top 10. I had him at 11, but it really comes down to, I believe in the player. When I'm that unsure about whether his future is here, it makes me a little bit more sheepish. And we still haven't really seen it on a stretch run at the NHL level. And with defensemen, you've got to give them a little bit more time and leeway, but the fan base is not going to see it the same way. So I don't know. I still have all the belief in Carson Lambos, but I do think there's other guys in the pool that I have much more belief in, especially when you look at 2 of the defensemen that we haven't talked about yet in this prospect pool that are, for me, sure things.
Yeah, I think with Lambos, it's kind of tough to like reconcile how like there's been a lack of like offensive production. I mean, you can understand you like just look at like his usage since getting drafted, like when dating back to the WHL, and then obviously the last 2 years in Iowa. But like the offensive skills that he every once in a while still like shows flashes of versus like the lack of production, just in terms of like offense being put on the board. It's just like sometimes it's just like confusing, but again, like it's been a lot of it's the environment, and again, like in the WHL specifically, like that last year or 2 that he was there, it was just like the usage, like he wasn't like they were using like an overager on their power play and everything. But I mean, like every once in a while, like you still just see the flashes, like his mobility at the blue line, the fakes, and just like the skill, and he's got a absolute bomb of a shot. You can hammer pucks. You'd expect just like when you watch his tape that there'd be more points. But that being said, it's just like he is with where he's been used in Iowa in like such a shitty environment for defensemen. It's just been tough, but like he is a solid defender. Like, again, I think just the fact that he did get a call up last year, yes, he did play, like, but the fact that they even like called him up to be someone potentially to make their NHL debut says that like they're not necessarily like upset with like his development or whatever, but
dude, the fact he was a plus player last year at all, just as a, whereas you look at like poor Rook who just got absolutely buried and sent off.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, he was logging hard defensive minutes, like uses a matchup guy, obviously killing tons of penalties down there. I think that first game this year played over 20 minutes on that top pair with Kierstead, but he's just like such an intriguing prospect. Again, like you said, who knows if it's going to be in Minnesota. I still think there's a spot for him, down the line. Like he can be like a 4 or 5 that's going to be able to like be on your second power play unit. Again, like he's going to kill penalties for you. He's a really good defender. He moves really well. He just hasn't really been put in a position since he's been drafted, like, again, WHL and AHL, to be like the go-to guy for offense on the back end. Like he just hasn't had that opportunity yet. But again, I think his game still has grown really well, or he's showed solid development, like defensively. So I think there's a good NHL defenseman in there. Like, so we'll see what this year brings. I would imagine he's one of those guys that, considering it's Minnesota, we know like the health thing. He is, and he got called up last year. I would imagine he gets his debut this year at some point. How many games, who knows? But he's in a weird spot in this pool, where like I think he probably has deserved to come up and like get a few games under his belt the last year or two. Just hasn't turned out that way. But I still am high on Lambos. I still think he can be like number 4, number 5 defenseman. Again, like even if he's a bottom pair D-man that you can throw in your second power play unit that's going to kill penalties, that kill hard minutes for you. Like I think that's a valuable piece of your pool. What's he going to be, 23 now? So he's still fairly young. This is usually like that year though that like you want to see them take a step. So we'll see what it looks like with Cronin in Iowa, how much more offensive leash he gets. Because I mean he's their number 1 defenseman down there right now. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm still a big believer in Lambos. I love his game, love the way he plays. Obviously he's a leader too, so big fan of Lambos, and hopefully we see him once or twice this year.
I would even say too though that the development defensively has been the biggest reason that I am a believer for him, because like the offense was never a concern. And you look at a guy like, no one thinks back to Chris Letang's early years and remembers him being the definition of a liability defensively. Then he's basically become the perennial snub annually for Norris consideration. Like he's always like just on the outside. And he took a good bit of time to figure out the defensive side of things. But then once he had it, he was golden. And I feel like Lambos has picked it up a lot quicker than I maybe expected. And granted, you've watched a lot more of him, Z, so maybe it's not as much of a surprise to you, but I feel like he's really grabbed onto that. I guess it's really the only thing he could do with the Iowa team.
Well, yeah. And last year, like he was like, and again, I think Ryan O'Rourke got too much flack just because like he ate a bunch of hard minutes and just had to play 100% a defensive role. But I think like Lambos was probably like the best guy on the back end last year. Like, and just one of the better, like obviously like Ogren was a standout offensively, but I liked what I saw defensively from him last year. You saw those flashes that Z already talked about. I mean, I don't really have much more to add other than I love the little things he does, like on the blue line, especially on special teams. And yeah, I think that this guy's going to be an NHL player, and maybe who knows if everybody on the back end for the Wild is going to work out. Like, and I'm looking at you, Jiricek. Like, I'm confident, but like if not, then like this guy will be like the next guy up that they probably focus on, or like with Hoppy with injuries. This is probably going to be one of their next defensive call-up guys, depending on how Hunt does if and when he gets some time playing. So 22, 23, I think it would have been nicer to see some more offensive numbers, but that sucks for him that he's on a shitty AHL team. I think overall the developmental trajectory is just fine.
The one thing I'll add for him too, and this hasn't been like explicitly stated, but you get the idea from all the different prospects that we've interviewed on Fellowship of the Rink. He's a locker room guy. He for sure is. Like, he is just like loose, free, like goofball kind of vibe. And in a tie, that matters. Like, look at all the guys that are in the same logjam here with him. Like, he is battling with Hunt, with Jiricek. There's plenty of defensemen coming up under him that he's going to have to stave off, but it's like that one little thing, it can maybe be the tiebreaker.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I'm excited to see again. Tough first 2 games for Iowa, but like I'm giddy to see how these guys fare this year.